Zanzi, welcome back to SA Hot News. Tonight, political tensions explode after a shocking moment. Stay with us as we unpack what happened.
The Mbalula, one was the Minister of Police, and first instructed Police Commissioner Just to ask him to purchase 45 million rand for national conference. The response served, and secondly, he also testified that the money was paid in order to be used as part of the funds for the conference. Response to that allegations of having tagged the money for the conference to buy it. And then lastly, there's an issue how they probably have been instructed the newly elected to resign. And we instructed the newly elected speaker of the President to resign in your current negotiations with the economic freedom fighters. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any new hand, so I'll take it. That one is the closeout. SG.
Matters of the police, some are very complicated. And you take decisions informed by security issues. So I'm not going to respond to that particular question because it has been doing rounds for quite some time. And it even went as far as being investigated. And in this particular instance, I've never given an instruction to any operative in whatever manner that the operative can. So I suppose if he mentions my name or would have said when I was minister, I'm not the DG of police commissioner. In my era, there are many things that have been said about me there in that commission. In my era, when Makaka died, I had that as well. In my era, I took the following decision. Bayan the phone and the born, commission and so on. So I can't respond to that. If I'm required to do so, I will follow the due processes that need to be followed. But in this particular instance, let's allow the commission its peace to do its work. The NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed that organizational renewal is an existential task central to the African National Congress' continued relevance. As a liberation movement and governing party, renewal is not a periodic exercise, but a continuous process that must be visible in leadership conduct, deployment practices, internal culture, and the quality of service rendered to communities. The Lekgotla reaffirmed that the credibility of the movement depends on its ability to live its values in practice, led by example and earn public trust through visionary, servant, capable, ethical, and effective leadership. The Lekgotla resolved to intensify the implementation of the Renewal Charter as the central framework guiding organizational building. This includes strengthening ethical leadership, enforcing discipline without fear or favor, and applying consistent consequence management for misconduct. Underperformance.
So where's the consequence for you, Fikile? Where's living values in practice? Where's leading by example? A witness testified, you instructed a 45 million rand purchase with inflated money and you say, I can't respond? That's not ethical leadership. That's cowardice. That's hypocrisy. And it gets worse, because Ramaphosa just made promises about that Madlanga commission that completely contradict what Mbalula just did.
The hearings of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and the hearings that are going on in the ad hoc committee here have exposed rampant corruption in the SAPS and some metro police departments through the abuse of power. We cannot tolerate this. The rule of law depends on a police service that is ethical, responsive, and rooted in the communities that it serves. The South African Police Service has established a task team to ensure that investigations arising from the Madlanga Commission are undertaken swiftly without interference. The State Security Agency will revet the senior management of the South African Police Service and Metro Police Departments. The vetting process will include lifestyle audits as well. As we have successfully done with previous commissions, we will use the recommendations of the Madlanga Commission to make far-reaching changes. We are determined that the Commission's findings and recommendations will lay the basis for a fundamental reform of our criminal justice system. We are confident that these efforts will succeed because the great majority of police officers are dedicated to upholding the law and diligently serving the people of South Africa. Now, drawing on the success of Operation Vulindlela in advancing economic reform, we will use a similar approach to establish a hard-hitting new criminal justice reform initiative. This will crack down on organized crime, on illicit firearms and trade, using a dedicated team to ensure that reforms are implemented across the system. We are further intensifying the fight against corruption by strengthening bodies such as the Special Investigating Unit, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the Hawks. We will finalize government's approach to the recommendations of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council on the establishment of a permanent, independent, overarching anti-corruption body. We cannot accept that those who speak out against corruption are victimized, targeted, and killed. The Whistleblower Protection Bill will be introduced in Parliament. Among other things, this will criminalize retaliation and provide psychosocial, legal, and financial support to whistleblowers. And there will be a special focus on restructuring our procurement system with a view to ending corruption. The Auditor General reports that the majority of incidents of corruption originate in the procurement system. We cannot allow this cancer to continue, and we must therefore act. Measures will be taken. Measures that we will take will include the use of technology and the finalization of the new Public Procurement Act regulations by mid-2026. We cannot fight organized criminals by treading softly. We must act with zero tolerance and bring the full force of the law to bear. And I'd like this message to be clear.
Ramaphosa watch.
In addition to crime, water is now the single most important issue for many people in our country, from large cities like Johannesburg to smaller towns like Knysna and rural areas like Guyana. We have all seen the pain that our people have been expressing through demonstrations in various parts of Gauteng. Now, these protests have been fueled by the frustrations that our people are feeling over inadequate, unreliable access to basic services such as water. I have directed the Minister of Water and Sanitation and her deputy, as well as the Minister of Cooperative Governance, to attend to the water shortage problem and engage with our communities. Now, I can see you are excited. As we speak,
Order, honorable members. Can we please lessen our voices so that members can hear the message? Thank you.
As we speak, they are in Gauteng at the moment, engaging with our people, explaining to them precisely how government intends to immediately deal with the challenges that our people are experiencing. They have informed me that the pipes that had been damaged are being repaired and the reservoirs are filling up again. Now, this comes from poor planning, inadequate maintenance of water systems by many of our municipalities, and the main cause of the problems are now the reason why we are now having empty taps. There is no silver bullet to address this challenge, which has its roots in systemic failures and many years of neglecting infrastructure. To ensure water security is in the long term, we are building new dams, upgrading existing infrastructure. We have committed 156 billion rand in public funding for water and sanitation infrastructure over the next 3 years. The construction of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project and other large-scale projects like the Ntabelanga Dam, part of the Umzimvubu Water Project in the Eastern Cape, is advancing. And we are in the final stages of establishing a national water resource infrastructure agency to effectively manage the country's water infrastructure and mobilize funding for infrastructure. However, the real challenge lies not in the availability of water, but in getting water to people's taps. The Water Services Amendment Act, or Bill, will enable us to hold water service providers accountable for their performance, and if they don't perform, to be able to withdraw their licenses if they do not deliver. If a municipality is not willing or able to provide a service to its residents, then it must be done by another structure that can do so. Now, these reforms will address the root causes of the water crisis. In the short term, we need to address the immediate crisis where water outages are being experienced right now. 3 years ago, when we were experiencing daily power cuts, we established the National Energy Crisis Committee to enable a focused national response. We overcame what seemed like an insurmountable challenge by adopting a clear plan and delivering on it. Using the same approach, we will now elevate our response to water crisis to a National Water Crisis Committee, which I will chair. The structure will bring together all existing efforts into a single coordinating body. The Deputy President has been working with a number of water authorities in the country, and we will coordinate all that to make sure that we address this problem. It will deploy technical experts and resources from national government to municipalities facing water challenges. It will ensure that action is taken swiftly and effectively to address the problem. To address the challenges effectively, we will not hesitate to use the powers that are enshrined in our Constitution and in the Water Services Act to intervene in municipalities where necessary. National government cannot stand by and believe that local government will be able to solve the problem which they are not able to solve. National government will therefore intervene. We will hold to account those who neglect their responsibility to supply water to our people. Government has already laid criminal charges against
Water is the single most important issue, and Ramaphosa just confessed to everything. Poor planning, inadequate maintenance, systemic failures, many years of neglecting infrastructure. Who was in power for those many years, Cyril? The ANC. Who neglected the infrastructure? ANC municipalities. He even admits it has its roots in systemic failures. That's your system. Then criminal charges against 56 municipalities. Who runs them? ANC. And the solution? Another crisis committee? National Water Crisis Committee, which he will chair. Just like the Energy Crisis Committee for load shedding, you're collecting crisis committees and calling it progress. This is a state of emergency speech disguised as a state of the nation. He's admitting collapse and packaging it as leadership. And the water crisis is just the beginning. Ramaphosa then admits local government completely collapsed. Watch.
In many places, local government administrations are weak, don't have the capacity, and are also governed by patronage rather than by technical capacity and merit. In her most recent report on local government, the Auditor General said, local government is characterized by inefficient accountability, failing service delivery, poor financial management and governance, weak institutional capability and widespread instability. She says that arresting the decline of local government will require our collective action. We are now taking collective action. Learning from our experience of the past 30 years, we will, in the coming months, finalize a revised white paper on local government. This will provide solutions for the functioning of an effective local government system. The white paper will reimagine the way that our local government should work. The current system is too complex and fragmented, expecting even small and weak municipalities to take on many responsibilities. We will propose fundamental changes that recognize the reality that some municipalities can take on more functions than others, and that we need a differentiated approach to municipal powers and responsibilities. We're also proposing a more structured cooperation between municipalities and traditional and Khoisan leadership institutions to enable community engagement and shared problem solving. We will ensure that senior officials in local government have the required qualifications and are appointed through an independent process free from political interference. Where municipalities fail, we will strengthen the ability of national government to intervene more quickly and to direct corrective measures in the interest of serving our people better. These changes may be difficult, but they must be done. While these fundamental reforms are underway, we will continue to implement targeted support to improve the delivery of basic services through the presidential working groups on eThekwini and Johannesburg. While we have made progress in stabilizing eThekwini, which has led to investor confidence returning, there is much more that needs to be done in Johannesburg to deal with collapsing infrastructure,